and what common mistakes to avoid that often will get you disqualified. And then we also walk through how to write a cover letter that is not just professional but personal, persuasive, and also purpose driven. And then we also went through customization of CV for particular roles. And then we also did some tools where we are able to identify uh, how we can write our roles and responsibilities on the CV, not necessarily listing them, but also ensuring that they are achievement oriented. So, if yesterday was about putting your best foot forward on paper, today is about how you show up in person or on screen. Because in the interview, you are either doing an in person or it may be a virtual interview. So by the end of today, you should be able to know some interview types that some employers are using, what they actually assess when they interview you, the use of the STAR method, uh, then some common interview questions, and then virtual interview etiquette, and also strategies that you can apply to excel in both in person and also virtual interviews. So I will start off by why interviews are done. So interviews are not just about checking your qualification. They are about a fit for most employers. Yeah. Employers want to see if you are aligned with the team, if you are aligned with their values and expectations for the role, and also your goal is to show them that you not only can do the job, but that you will thrive in their environment. So an interview is an opportunity for both the candidate and also the employer. So when they invite you for an interview, there are basic things that the employer or a recruiter is intending to assess through the interview. Recruiters assess more than just your answers. You get when they put you in an interview, they're not looking at basically the answers alone. They look at how you think and respond to these questions, how you communicate, how you carry yourself, how you handle pressure. So, because they are looking for someone who is not only capable but confident, someone who is adaptable, and someone who is professional. Remember, everything you do and say is being evaluated in any interview setting. Everything you do, whether you say it, your movement of your body, your eye, your facial expression, everything is being evaluated. So be mindful of your tone, your posture, how you sit, and also your clarity. You don't want to be in an interview where you're not very clear or not audible for your interviewers to hear whatever you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So there are quite a number of interviews that most recruiters use. They don't use all of them at once, but they pick based on the nature of the role and also what their policy says. So you would find a one-on-one interview where you will find maybe just a single interviewer. And then you can also have a panel interview where there are multiple interviewers at one, where you may face 2 or 3 people in one panel. That's a panel interview. And then you have virtual interviews. Virtual interviews can be a one-on-one or a panel. So but they are basically conducted online via any other online platform like Zoom, Teams, and Google Meet, and the rest. So the virtual can be either a panel or one-on-one, and also can either be a competency based, where the lesson is basically focused on your past experience, and also can be technical, where the focus is based on demonstrating a specific skills. So anytime anybody invites you for an interview, it could be either one of these. Okay. So interview preparation. Preparation is everything. Yeah. The moment you see an invite for any interview, please go do your homework properly. Research the organization, understand its mission, its culture, or current project, what they are working on. Yeah, because you will reach there and they'll ask you questions like, what has motivated you to apply for this role? And then you will have nothing to say. Or basically, can you tell us anything you know about this organization? And then simple things like even the vision or mission you wouldn't know. But these are information that are out there you can find through their website. So you should be able to research and know and understand the organization properly. And then also understand the role. So go through the advert, understand the descriptions that I've put there in terms of the key duties and responsibilities, understand their expectations in terms of the person description. If they ask for skills in this, in that, make sure that you understand what they expect from the candidate. And then, most importantly, you should know your CV very well. Be ready to discuss anything that you've included in your CV. That's why, for most people, if you write something that is not true and they ask you about it, you will have a hard time mentioning one thing. So you should know very well what you've put in your CV so that when asked, because most times when they put you in an interview, they easily reference some of the things you've put in your CV. And then you don't want to be caught off guard where you're not able to tell the details that you've put in your CV. So know your CV properly. Anything you've listed, please make sure that you know it very well. And then you should also be ready to link your key strengths in terms of your skill and experiences. You must be able to link them to the expectation of the job. And you can only do that when you review the job description and understand what is expected from this particular role. And then some practical tips when it comes to interview preparation is that you can rehearse on some common interview questions with maybe a friend, a colleague, or any other person, a mentor or a coach that you're familiar with. You can go over some of the common interview questions. That way, you're able to be prepared. You are able to use the opportunity to say how you carry yourself, how you respond to the question, and then the person is able to give you feedback. So take time to prepare and practice some common interview questions. And then also use the STAR method for all behavioral related questions or competency based questions. We will later on in the next few minutes look at what the STAR method is all about. And then for some recruiters, when you're coming, they tell you to carry along your documents. So please have them ready if it's required, so that you don't start fidgeting looking for it on the day of the interview. Also, prepare questions that you're going to ask the interviewer. Don't leave the interview without asking the the interviewer some questions. So prepare one or two questions that you're going to be asking the interviewer. Okay. And in terms of your dress up, first impression, they say, is everything. So you must be able to dress appropriately, yeah, for the role. Even if it's just an online interview, please make sure that you dress up properly. We have instances where somebody showed up for an interview in a vest, thinking that it will be camera off. So the interview went on for a couple of minutes, and then one of the panelists say, "Okay, could you please turn on your camera?" So instead of maybe running to at least pick a t-shirt and stuff, he didn't do that. He turned on the camera and he was in a vest, and he automatically got himself disqualified because apparently he was not dressed appropriately for the event. So please ensure that you dress appropriately. You don't know what an interviewer will be thinking. They could even tell you to please get up and show us how you're dressed, and then you may end up being in some sorts or something that is not really very professional. And then be on time. Yeah, we are we always ensure that you are able to demonstrate that you are a very good timekeeper. So be on time, 10-15 minutes early, that's okay, because it then gives you the opportunity to relax. It will turn even your anxiety into confidence, you get. But if you arrive late, you'd be very anxious, fidgeting up and down, sweating, so that even when you start, you are sweating all over the place. Yeah. So come in early, familiarize yourself with the uh, interview environment. Could be an office setup where you're able to meet one or two people, sit and get comfortable. You can even ask the people around about things related to the organization. If it's online, make sure that you're timely so that you're able to test if your internet is working properly, if your camera is okay, your audio is okay. That way, when they join, you are not fidgeting or struggling with audio issues or camera issues and all that. So always be on time. And throughout the interview, maintain a very good body language, maintain eye contact, and keep a very professional tone when you are communicating during the interview. Okay, so earlier on, I mentioned the STAR method. So STAR method is basically a structured approach that is used for answering behavioral or competence-based interview questions. This type of interview questions usually focus on past experiences with some real life examples. So even if somebody doesn't have like a real life example, but in the event that it happened, how will they handle that particular issue? So it focuses on you sharing your past experiences. Yeah. So to break it down, the S stands for the situation. So you can describe the context or background of that experience when you are now answering the question. So break down the context or the background of the experience. For instance, while working as an intern at XYZ organization, yeah. So you are already providing a context or a background. And then uh, T is for the task. So explain the specific challenge or responsibility that you faced. For instance, you could say something like, I was tasked with improving attendance tracking for volunteers. That was the task you get. So you are explaining the responsibility. Yeah. So if it were a task, you would also explain what was, if it was a challenge, you'd also explain what the challenge was. And then R is for the action. So you have to describe the steps you took to address the challenge or accomplish the task that you were given. For instance, I created a digital system using Excel and train the team to use it. So that is the action that you took. So you're describing the steps that you took. And then the last one is in terms of the result. Then you should be able to say outcome of your action. You get what was the outcome, and the outcome must be measurable. You get. You could say something like attendance accuracy improved by 40% and reporting time was cut in half. So this STAR method helps you to describe how you handled a specific task or a responsibility in your previous role. So even if you did not experience that, don't tell somebody, oh, I don't have an experience. You could say, yeah, I don't have a real life example or experience in that, but if this happened to me, this is how I would have approached it, or I will approach it again. So you provide that kind of response. So that's basically what the STAR method means and how to use it, mainly for behavioral related questions or competence based questions, where the focus is mainly on your experience or real life examples. Yeah. So I think that summarizes. I want just to look at some of the most common. Yeah. So some of the most common interview questions and how you could respond to them. For instance, if someone asks you like, "Tell me about yourself," you must be able to focus on your professional background, not your personal life. Yeah. Summarize your education background, and then talk about your experience, what you're looking for in terms of your career. And you must also ensure that whatever you're saying is brief, structured, and relevant to the role that you are being interviewed for. An example is that I am a HR professional with 3 years of experience in recruitment and employee engagement. I've worked with both NGOs and private sector companies, passionate about helping organizations build strong people-centered teams. You get. So you're already providing background in terms of who you are and what your experience is like and what you are looking for. All right. And then a question like, what are your strengths? You can choose only those that you feel are relevant to the role. So you can also, when you're mentioning your strength, you can support them with specific examples on how you use them or how you can use them uh, when given the opportunity on the role. For instance, you could say, I am highly organized. In my previous role, I created a new filing system that reduced document retrieval time by 50%. So your strength is that you are very organized. But don't just say, oh, I'm organized. You get. Give an example of how you use that strength. You get. So that's how you'd respond to a question on your strength. And then a question on what is your greatest weakness? Most people, when asked what is your greatest weakness, oftentimes they say, no, I don't have. But as a human being, you must be very honest and very strategic. So when you're answering a question like greatest weakness, choose something that is non-critical, and also so that you're working on it. Don't say critical things that you don't know in the interview. For instance, if you're being hired for medical information management system officer, and then they ask you if and then they ask you for your weakness, and then you tell them, oh, I don't know how to use the health management system. You are simply telling them, yes, I'm not a fit for the role. So that's what I mean by a critical weakness. A critical weakness is something that can definitely tell the recruiter that you are not a fit for the job. But something that is non-critical, non-critical for one role may not necessarily be non-critical for the other. For instance, if you're not very good with public speaking and you are being hired maybe as maybe an office assistant, it is okay because somebody does not expect you to do a lot of public speaking at that role. But if you're being hired maybe like for a program manager role, and then you are telling them that I am not very good at public speaking, you are simply telling them that you're not a fit because public speaking for a program manager is a key skill. So you must be able to possess it. So when asked to talk about your greatest weakness, you can say, I used to struggle with, you mention whatever challenge that is, then, but I have taken steps towards addressing this challenge. So don't mention it and then not indicate how you're dealing with it. Yeah. Mention it and also indicate how you're dealing with it. You've taken classes on it, you're receiving mentorship or training on it, and all that. That way, you're able to demonstrate that as much as it's a weakness, you're already working around it. So it's not going to be something that will affect you a lot because with time you will already be uh, done with it. Yeah. And then a question like, why should we hire you? Why should we hire you combines both skills, attitude, and a fit for the role. So you must be in a position where you are making a value proposition. Yeah. A value proposition for a candidate is simply telling the recruiter that, you see, among all the 10 people that you invited to this interview, I'm your best sort. You get. So why should we hire you is your opportunity to tell that person that, okay, don't even look at the 9 other people behind me. I'm here and I'm the man for the job. So you can rephrase your response to something like, I bring both technical HR skills and strong people first mindset. I've handled recruitment, onboarding, and employee engagement, and I'm confident I can contribute positively to your team. This is brief. You don't have to make it as brief as this because you now have to demonstrate fully why they should hire you. Talk about your skills, talk about the strengths that you're having, and make sure whatever you're saying aligns and makes you a fit for the role for which you are being interviewed. Okay, so after that, we will look at some body language and virtual etiquette for virtual interviews. So, when you are invited for a virtual interview, you should be in a position where you are seated upright. If you're sitting on an office chair, don't lean back and maybe do unnecessary, unprofessional poses where you are demonstrating as though you are the boss and stuff like that. Sit up straight to demonstrate that you are actually attentive, not somebody who is demonstrated that they are not interested or maybe they're just wasting their time and stuff like that. So sit upright and maintain eye contact throughout the session with the interviewer. And then when they are talking to you, you should nod and do facial expressions that show that you are engaging whatever they are telling you or the questions they're asking you. So if they're asking you and they are talking and you don't demonstrate or not to show that, okay, I have understood or not understood, because if somebody is talking, you give them the opportunity to talk. And the only way for you to show them that you are actually understanding what they are telling you is through the facial expression, the nodding of the head, and all that. Yeah. And then be in a position where you are in your best self in terms of your facial expression, like you sewing a smile. It builds that, it demonstrates that you're somebody who is approachable. Yeah. And it creates warmth that they can easily communicate and talk to you. Don't be overly serious, as though um, you're being pinned to the wall or something. Yeah, because the interview is intended to be an interactive session where you are simply discussing with the recruiter uh, how you are the fit for the role. So provide a space where they can feel that, oh, this candidate is approachable. They are able to, somebody can easily talk to them. And then avoid fidgeting. Uh, I know most times, because of maybe fear, some people can start fidgeting during the interview, and you would see even their hands shaking, sweating, and all that. If try as much as possible to ensure that you do not show that you are afraid during the interview. And when you're sitting, don't cross your arms unprofessionally. Yeah. Don't cross your arms unprofessionally. You should be in a position or a posture where they can be able to see a professional sitting. Yeah. Then when for a virtual interview, make sure that your your background and where you're sitting is lit. The background should be very professional. Don't do a video interview in your bedroom where the recruiter is seeing your bed and how things are thrown around. So make sure your background is professional. And then test your camera, mic, and internet to ensure that it's properly working, and also dress professionally. Some of this we have already mentioned in the previous discussions. Okay. So before the interview, we've gone through this, review the job descriptions thoroughly, make sure that you understand what is in the job description and align your strength, your experiences, particularly with the job description. For common behavioral based interview or competency based interview, use the STAR method when you are responding to the recruiter. And then choose a very professional attire. Uh, some, depending on the role or the organization, some dress code may not come as appropriate. So you should be able to also research the organization when showing up for interview. I know for a fact for employers like the banks, you must even appear in a suit or something like that. But for others, you can even show up in your jean pants and t-shirts, and you're still okay. For them, that's okay. So you must be able to understand in terms of the culture of the organization what a professional attire is like. Then you can use that. And have your documents ready. We've already talked about that. Punctuality, we've already talked about that. So during the interview, you should be in a position where you're able to greet the interviewer. Don't wait for them to greet you first. You can greet them and then listen carefully before you respond. And also, if you're not clear, don't respond. You'd rather ask for a pardon. Let them repeat their questions before you respond. Don't respond to a wrong question. If you didn't get it, just say, I didn't get it, pardon, and let them repeat the question, and then you provide your answers. When providing your answers, keep it focused, relevant, and also very concise. And again, ask at least one thoughtful question at the end of the interview. Don't leave the interview. Most recruiters will ask you, okay, yeah, we're done with the interview. Do you have any questions for us? Most people will be like, oh, I don't have any questions. I'm okay. Even simple questions like, when should I expect feedback on this interview? You get. Those are simple, simple things you can ask. Don't, don't, don't leave there without asking a question. At least ask a question. You can ask things on the culture, you can ask things on team, ask things on the role itself, the things that might not be very clear to you. Yeah. So you can ask those. Okay. Then after the interview, it's not a very common practice, but I recommended that you can send an email. There are employers who sent you an invite through the email. So for those, once you finish the interview, after 24 hours, you can send a thank you email to show that you appreciate the opportunity and look forward to hearing back from them. You can reiterate your interest and appreciate them a lot for the opportunity, of course. If you don't get the role, you can ask for feedback, whether or not it is a positive or a negative feedback. And then you can also review the entire process and see if there's anything that you've done that isn't right. For instance, if there are some questions that were asked to you and you didn't have a proper response to, that you can revisit and then make sure that you understand it better for any future uh, uh, interviews. And then the final advice is for you to be yourself, but be your best professional self. Because for most people, their best self at home or outside of office is different, and also their best self at the workplace is also different. So be yourself, but your best professional self, because then it's able to recommunicate. Because most of the things we do out here has an implication in terms of how people look at us. Yeah. Things to do with social media management and all that has an implication on how people view us. Yeah, sometimes they'll judge you based on the things you do on media, because yeah, people use social media to these days to even do background checks, so you must be able to demonstrate some level of professionalism, because in future it may have direct impact on your profession. So every interview is a place or an opportunity for you to practice, take notes and improve, revisit and see what has worked, what doesn't work, and that way you are able to uh, improve. And then confidence grows with preparation. Yeah. If you prepare very well, you are able to ensure that you are very confident and you're more ready than you may think, particularly when you prepare in advance. So I think that's everything that we had to cover for this session for the interview. And I'd like to give it over to Bida. If there are people who have questions, I've put a couple of reflection questions in terms of what interview questions people are struggling with, what feedback they've received in the past, if any, and if not, what has worked for them, what has not worked for them. Are there any types of interviews that intimidate them, questions, or whatever that is? Yeah. Thank you so much, and over to you, Bida.
Okay, thank you so much. I can give you like 1 minute maybe to grab a glass of water, and then
Okay.
from there, yes, there are some questions in the chat box, as well as some comments. I think I would start with the while you take your water, I will start with a comment from Dr. Leju is saying, I have sat in an interview panel where one panelist asked the candidate if they read the job description. That was after the candidate asked the question, what does success look like for me in the first 6 months at the job? So candidates need to be careful how they frame it without sounding too lazy to have read the advert. Again, he's saying, I have sat in an interview panel where one panelist asked the candidate if they read the job description, JD. That was after the candidate asked the question, what does success look like for me in the first 6 months at the job? So candidates should be careful, candidates need to be careful how they frame it without sounding too lazy to have read the advertisement. I think he was commenting on the aspect of asking questions at the end of the interview. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then, yes, you're back now?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. If you're back, and then we can start with the questions. So the first question someone is asking is it a good practice for an interviewee to take water when one of the panel members throw a question, may I give you water?
Okay.
Mm. You can start with that, and then I can ask the next question.
Okay, yeah. So it's not unprofessional to want water. Even if they don't offer, you can still ask for it. So yes. If they ask if they can give you water, you can say yes. And also when they ask question, don't be in a hurry to answer the questions. You can also say, okay, just give me a moment to think about this. If you need a longer time, you can say, okay, move on to the next question. We can come back to this at a later date, where you've already noted that there's also this one particular question that you've not answered. You get. So don't be in a rush to simply finish the interview or answer every time they ask. So yes, asking for water or taking water is just okay. It helps you to actually, yeah, feel relaxed, not like where you're being crucified or something like that. But you should do it professionally when you're doing so. Don't, like, if you're using a straw, don't do water with a straw and it's making some loud noise and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope that your question is answered, Peter. And then the next question is from the John Data John. He's asking, how can he was talking about the aspect where you said, for example, if you ask what are your strengths and weaknesses, you have to link to your your successes or previous experience. So he's asking, how can one handle such a question if one doesn't have experience on the role? Like if someone is a fresh graduate, or maybe someone is switching careers.
Okay. So if you don't have a direct experience, or for for maybe a fresh graduate or somebody who is shifting careers. For example, if somebody asks you, like, tell me about a time you handled a conflict, you get, you really didn't handle any conflict because you didn't have the opportunity to handle any conflict because you've not worked before. But in your previous, maybe in school, you did have situations that put you in a place where you handle conflict. So you can refer to other real life examples that may not necessarily have to do with a workplace, but has to do with handling of conflict. It could be even at home where you handle the conflict, because some of us sit in homes where we do these meetings, we chair meetings, we do minutes, we resolve family problems. All those are skills that we can actually transfer to the workplace. So don't be limited with whether or not you have the direct experience. Yeah. So you can use experiences that has to do with your your internship or your real life, maybe family, maybe friends. Some of us even mediate for our friends who are fighting. You get, that's already a skill. So you can indicate how you're doing that, maybe not necessarily in terms of a real work life experience, but if you've ever experienced that, you can mention. And like I said, if you've not experienced it, just tell them, okay, I don't have a direct real life experience in this, whether in my profession or personal life, but if I'm faced with this kind of situation, this is how I will do it. You get. So that will be your fallback answer if you really don't have any experience at all.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that perfectly answers the question for Peter John Data John Dada. Yeah, that perfectly answers your question. So next question is from Emanuela Igale. Emanuela Igale is asking you that basing on the example you gave for the personal statement when asked to talk about yourself in an interview, as a fresh graduate with about 6 months of experience or internship, how best could I talk about myself and increase my chances of being selected or shortlisted? Again, let me read again. Basing on the example you gave, Basing on the example you gave for the personal statement when asked to talk about yourself in an interview, as a fresh graduate with about 6 months of internship of experience or internship, how best could I talk about myself and increase chances of being shortlisted?
Okay, thank you. So, when you are a fresh graduate, or maybe you have some intensive experience, the focus for you should be on three things: uh, who you are professionally, what value you have already demonstrated, why you are excited about the role, and what you bring. You get. So, for instance, who you are could be the relevant degree that you're holding, and what you've done is highlight some achievements during your internship period that you've done, or achievements during your degree where you maybe held leadership roles and something like that, and also why you are applying for a role with them, which is in line with your motivation and the value you bring. So if somebody asks you, or a personal statement, for instance, you could use is that I'm a recent graduate in, you can mention the degree and mention the university. I recently completed a 6 month internship with, you mention the company or the organization where I, if it's for instance an IT, like where I supported the infrastructure and or IT support team. During the time, I helped resolve technical issues across departments, assisted in setting up this and that, you know, which gave me hands-on experience and the confidence to communicate effectively in a professional setting. You get. And then you can conclude with your motivation where you can say something like, I'm excited about this opportunity because I want to build a long-term career in this field, because now you're relating your background with the role that you're applying for. I believe my foundation, and willingness to learn. You get. So you are actually acknowledging that don't have the experience, but you're willing to learn and commit to the role. You get. So those are some of the things you can put in your personal statement. And I think we covered some of them in the CV section yesterday. You probably might have missed that. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. The next question again is from Ata John Dada. He's asking, where can I find reliable websites that provide common interview questions and answers? Are there any platforms or tools that offer written interview questions I can practice with or download? Two questions.
The first one is common interview questions, and then
Websites where he can
websites.
find common interview questions and answers, and then two, also tools or platforms that he can get written interview questions so he can practice with or download?
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, there are platforms that you can use. The first one is for common interview questions with their answers. Actually, you can find them on Indeed. Indeed offers that. You can find list of 50 plus common interview questions with sample answers that you can use. And then also glassdoor.com, it also offers that. And then the muse.com, the muse.com also offers that number of interview questions with their answers. Zeti Career Blog also offers that. You can also check them. There is also Big Interview. Yeah. Some of them may have limitations in terms of payment. Yeah. Because, for example, Big Interview, most of the features are paid. So you can opt for the ones where you don't need to pay. So if you want to practice a written interview, you can use vmock.com. It will give you uh, smart interview questions that you can practice with the written interview. Also, mock questions. Mock questions also provides an avenue for you to. They have sample written interview questions with answers that you can use. Interview Buddy also offers that. Yeah, so basically those are the ones that I could remember easily. And maybe I can note it and add for you some of this link on the slide and under the resources, and then you can check it out later. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, sure, it answers. Yeah, also they can check out YouTube. YouTube is good. There are
Yeah.
specific channels that focus on that, and also LinkedIn. So the next question is from Peter Dengyak. He's asking, there's always question from HR towards the end of interview on earnings or salary expectations. Does the answer block potential candidate? He's saying there's always question from HR towards the end of interview on earnings or salary expectations. Does the answer block potential candidate?
Okay, so how you answer salary expectation questions can affect your chances, yes, but it doesn't have to block you if you handle it properly. You get it. So why employers ask this question is to check if your expectations actually fit within their budget. They also want to assess whether you understand the market value of the role that you are applying for, and also to gauge how confident and self aware you are, because the expectation is for you to know your worth and your value. You get. Now, if you answer this poorly, if you quote too high, they may sorry about that. If you quote too high, they may assume that you are overqualified or unaffordable. If you quote too low, they may undervalue your skills or think you are unsure of your worth. If you are vague or say anything is fine, it can sound as though you are unprepared or just desperate to take anything or something like that. So usually how to answer smartly without blocking your chances is that you can delay you can say like, I'll prefer to learn more about the responsibilities and expectations of the role first, but I'm open to competitive offer that align with industry standards and skills. You get. Or based on my research and understanding of this role and the industry standards, I believe a fair range between this amount and this amount should be okay, depending on the full scope of responsibility and benefits you get. So you can provide a range instead of saying, oh, I need 500, just provide a range where now they can be able to fix. Yeah. And maybe you can also say, may I ask what budget range you've allocated for this role? I'm happy to work within a fair structure. You get. So please do your research and ensure that you are able to have clear understanding of what is happening within that industry. Always mention your flexibility, especially for especially for learning or for growth opportunities. So yeah, do your research. Don't say I don't know or I'm comfortable with working with whatever is there. Salary is important. You're going to work because of the salary. If nobody's paying you, you can't take any job. So you can do some closing lines, for instance, say, salary is important, but for me, alignment with the role, responsibility, and growth opportunities matter just as much. You get. So you're trying to indicate that as much as the salary is important, this goes beyond an issue of salary for you. You need other opportunities, for example, growth and all that comes with the job you get. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Peter Deng, I hope your question is answered. Thank you so much, Brenda. The next question is from Dr. Leju Jansuk. Leju is asking, why do some panelists ask questions in a rigid way? Just ask a question and listen, no prompts or follow-up questions. How best would a candidate navigate such a rigid interviewing approach?
Okay, so there are three main reasons why some panelists may be just too rigid. Some of them are following a structured scoring guide or a structured interview where they are following standards. Like there was no provision for where you can be prompted and where you can get at least some level of clarity out of yeah from the panel. In many formal interview, particularly with some UN agencies or government role, panelists are required to ask the same set of questions to all the candidates you get to ensure that there is fairness, reduce bias, and also a standardized evaluation. So they are not supposed to twist the question here and there because the intention is that the way the question is asked for candidate A is the same way that question is asked for the candidate number 10 you get. So the moment they start twisting it, it will have variations in terms of scores. They cannot be able to score it because then it generates some level of unbiased because the way you ask one question will prompt a different answer. The way you ask another will prompt a different answer. So that is some scenario where you will find that some interviewers are not, they are very rigid. They don't want to prompt you. And then the second one is that some of them, they don't want to lead you on. Yeah, they avoid prompts because they are trying to see how you can be able to think independently. They want to know, can you handle situations of ambiguity when things are just not clear? Like, yeah, how can you navigate your way around this uncertainty? Do you understand the question without being spoon fed? For many managerial roles, they ask you questions in block on rigidity to ensure that you are in a position to figure things out by yourself, not necessarily being spoon fed. And then they also want to know how you organize your thoughts under pressure. This is particularly true for many competency based interviews. Also, in terms of the culture or norms of the organization. In some contexts, a more formal, rigid approach is seen as a professional approach. Yeah. So it might feel cold, but it's intended to keep things neutral and avoid showing some level of favoritism. So if a question feels vague or unclear, it's okay for you to ask for clarification from the recruiter. So so you can ask questions like, would you like me to focus on a personal example or a team experience? Or just to clarify, are you asking about a time I handled or how how I would hypothetically approach it, just try to be the one in the position where you are doing the prompting. You get, because in their position they can't prompt you, yeah, because of the reasons I've mentioned, they can't prompt you. But be in a position where you are the one prompting them. If they refuse, then gather your thoughts for a few seconds and then use the star method to answer the question. Yeah. So some rigid questions are not meant to block you. They are often designed to level up the field to ensure that there is some uniform level of evaluating all the candidates you get. Yeah, I hope that answers your questions as well. Thank you.
Thank- Dr. Leju, I hope that answers your question. He gave a thumbs up. That means he's satisfied with the answer. So the idea is you can prompt the panel, or
Yeah.
you can yeah. Thank you. I think there are a lot of questions. the next question is the next question is from Emanuela Igale again. She's saying, as a professional HR, is there such a thing as strict recruiters may ask applicants? Again, she's asking, as a professional HR, is there such a thing as strict questions that recruiters may ask applicants? If yes, what are some examples of those?
Did you say strict questions?
No, trick, like she meant tricky questions, for example.
Yeah,
I think,
tricky, like to trick you into something.
yes, yes.
Okay. So in my experience, there is nothing like a tricky question. Yeah. Every question any recruiter or interviewer asks you has everything to do with the job or the role that you are applying for. So the moment they ask you any question, take your time to understand and internalize the question. Most often than not, it has absolutely nothing to do with tricking you. You get. So don't be in a hurry to answer. Yeah. Gather your thoughts for a few seconds. If you're not clear about it, prompt them to seek for clarity. Yeah. So don't be in a hurry to answer the question. There's nothing like a tricky question. Every question is intended for a particular purpose to help them to understand basically your fit for the role. Yeah. So there's nothing like a tricky question.
Thank you. Igale, there's no tricky question. All those questions mean business.
Yeah.
Next question is, someone is asking, could you kindly recap on the part of weakness and the strengths, like approaching the questions on weakness and the strengths, if you don't mind?
Okay. So I'll move up the slides a bit where we talked about it. Here with this the strength, and yeah, here is the strength. Yeah. So on the strength, we I mentioned that when you are asked what are your strengths, choose strengths that are relevant to the role, not the ones, because you might be having a number of them, some of which you've already provided details in your CV. So don't choose the ones that are not relevant. Choose any two, three strengths, and keep in mind that these are also some interview questions that you should prepare with. I talked about prepping yourself up before the interview and practicing some common interview questions. So also make sure that you are able to prep up on your key strengths and also your key weaknesses. So choose some two, three strengths that you feel are very relevant to the role. Yeah. And answer them. Once you mention that strength, indicate how in your previous role you were able to apply that strength and what result you've been able to achieve by using that strength. You get. I gave an example here of being organized. You get. So if your strength is that you are organized, that's okay. That's a strength. But now you must be able to demonstrate that in your previous role, how did you use that organization? You get. How did you use that strength of being organized, and what impact have you created? in form of an achievement. So you should be able to the strength, how you used it, and the achievement or impact you've been able to create by using that strength. I hope that's very clear enough for the strength part. Now, for the weaknesses, I mentioned that there are two types of weaknesses, the ones that are critical to the role and the ones that are non critical to the role. Always ensure that whichever weakness you are mentioning, mention the weakness that is not critical, non critical to the role. I gave you an example of somebody who is being interviewed for an admin assistant role or a reception job. So if that person is somebody who is shy and doesn't have strong public speaking skills, that is their weakness. So for them in their role, they can easily say that my weakness is that I'm not a very good a public speaker. You get, I'm not very good at public speaking. Is a very critical skill. So don't mention it if you are applying for a managerial or supervisory role. Don't say, my weakness is that I am I'm not very good at public speaking. Because the moment you do that, you are simply telling them that I'm not a good fit. Because in for a managerial role, you must be a very good public speaker because you're now going to be facilitating trainings, meetings, and all that. So you must be able to speak and speak well. So don't mention it as you talk about other skills where you it's not a very it's not very critical. Yeah. If you're, for instance, being hired for a driving role, and the role says you would be a driver, and then maybe they ask you for your weaknesses. Don't say, my weakness is that I am very poor timekeeper. For a driver, that skill is very important. Okay. The moment you mention that, you're already telling them that you're not a fit for the role. Okay. So mention other skills where, for example, even if a driver says, oh, I'm not a very good communicator, it's okay. Because in his role, he really does not need to communicate a lot in public or stuff like that. Or maybe I'm not very good. If he says things like very bad in bookkeeping, then it brings the question of, can he even maintain the log sheet you get? Because then it's a very critical skill for him to use on the job. So those are some of the recaps you can do in terms of questions when it comes to how you answer your weaknesses and your strength. Please, does that answer the question, or would you like to go one more time?
Thank you. Uh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes.
Okay. So the next question, someone is asking that after my interview, when I am, this is Emanuela Igale again, she's asking, after my interview, when I'm asked if I have any questions, is it okay to ask how I did during the interview, or does that show I don't trust myself and the answers I have given?
Uh, depending on depending on the circumstance, but yes, it's okay to ask for feedback. But how you ask makes all the difference you get. So it's really okay for you to ask for feedback. Asking how I did in the interview, it feels a bit awkward or uncertain if phrased casually. But if you reframe the question with confidence and professionalism, it solves it shows that it shows some level of self-awareness and willing to grow. Some good ways to ask, for instance, is thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I'd really appreciate any feedback you might have on how I presented myself or how I could improve for future interviews you get. So you could ask something like that. Or another approach could be, as I continue to grow professionally, I welcome any insights on areas I could strengthen. Was there anything I could have explained more clearly today, or I could have, so that way you are able to show some level of professionalism, but still asking for feedback. But don't start saying, did I pass the interview? It's very direct. It puts pressure on the recruiter and you will come out as desperate. Or was I bad? It shows us that you're doubting yourself. And then don't ask too early. Wait until the interview is naturally wrapping up before you can ask this kind of question, and ensure that you ask it properly. Ask, make it very thoughtful. Asking for feedback doesn't mean you don't trust yourself, okay? It shows that you are committed to growth, because when you receive feedback, whether positive or negative, you use it, and that's a strength and not a weakness. So yes, it is very good to ask for it, but ask in the right way.
Thank
Over
you.
to
Thank you, Emmanuel. I hope that answers your question. Next question is from Lekambu Caesar. Lekambu Caesar is saying, how do I remain focused from panelists intentionally distracting or throwing questions that do not seem relevant to the interviewee? Do interviewers sometimes throw questions to test a candidate's patience? Again, he's saying, how do I remain focused from panelists who intentionally distract or throw questions that do not seem relevant to the interviewee? Do interviewers sometimes throw questions to test a candidate's patience?
Okay, let's just unpack that. So first of all, you must understand, yeah, what is happening. Be in a position where you're able to read the mood and know what is happening. It may be intentional, just like you've put it. It may be intentional just to test your composure. You get. So sometimes panelists throw around carnival of questions here and there to be able to test your ability to think, yeah, and be on top of your game, yeah. And then they also want to see if you will get very defensive, if you will get confused, or frustrated and give up, so evaluate. They also want to evaluate how you manage ambiguity and pressure. So sometimes they put you in a panel and you see like all of them asking questions before you even respond. They want to test that. So make sure that you read to see that this is something they're doing intentionally and they simply want to test you. For example, if somebody tell you, if you were a tree, what kind would you be? You get. It's not relevant. It's not a relevant question. It has nothing to do with a job or anything. You get. Because obviously you can't be a tree. You get. But they are watching how you react to that question. You get. Also, it may also be a genuine lack of coordination. You get. Sometimes some people put you in the interview, they are not prepared themselves. So they didn't prepare very well. They don't have interview materials and all that. So it's actually a weakness on their part. So sometimes it's just a genuine lack of preparation, and sometimes you may either respond to the question or not altogether, but it doesn't form a basis through which you are evaluated. How you can respond with focus and confidence is that always stay very calm and maintain your level of composure. Take deep breath if necessary. Do not rush to give your answers. You get. Acknowledge the question and then you redirect your answers properly. Sometimes people use statements or sentences like, that's an interesting question. May I share an example that highlights how I approach challenges in general? You get. So some people use such kind of tricks to be able to maneuver some of those questions. This ensures that you remain grounded even if the questions are not. And then bring everything back to the role. Even if they ask you anything that has nothing to do with the job, just answer it, but link it back to the role. Then you can even say things like, okay, you're not sure if this directly applies to the position, but what it reminds you of is, then you can share a relevant experience you get. And then don't take it personally, because the moment you start taking things personally, they will conclude that you are having a very bad attitude, and then you make everything all about you, and it feels very uncomfortable in the room. So please don't take things personally. Some panelists may forget your answer here and there, but they won't forget how you handle pressure. So your level of grace under pressure is very, very important. You get, sometimes some of the interviewers are not even taking notes, you get, but they will remember exactly your face and how you spoke in the interview and use that as the basis of evaluation. I hope that answers you.
Thank you so much, Lekambo. I hope that answers your question. So the next question is from Peter Dengyak again. He's asking, is a bit long, so I will have to read twice. He's asking that most of the humanitarian projects are short-term, such as emergencies. Sometimes such projects recruit staff on short contracts. Is it advisable from HR perspective to be a loophole to staff during interview? To be specific, other HR or panel member ask questions like, why did you not stay longer with your former organization? Is it is it a professional question?
Okay. So for somebody to ask why you did not stay longer in the with the previous employer is a professional question, because they want to be in a position where they're able to understand the level of stability of the candidate you get. So it's true that for project-based organizations, some roles are based on projects that are short term. And so, yes, you can simply say, I moved because the project ended. So it's as simple as that. So the question is very professional. There are some organizations that, as much as they work on projects, they give longer contracts compared to others. So it has the question has nothing to do with something personal you get. So if they ask you that, be open enough and answer why you left your previous employer, because at the end of the day they will go do background check and check why you left. So you can say, yes, I was there even if for 6 months, but the project ended. So when the project ended, they didn't call me back or they retained me. So I have to look for another opportunity, because you cannot just say, even if it's 6 months, now the project has ended, I was laid off, I must continue going there to work. No, definitely you look for another opportunity. So yes, it's a professional question, and your answer should always be the honest one. Why you left your previous employer? You can find people with almost 4 5 roles, project management role in over several organizations you get, and it happens because, yeah, the duration of the contracts are defined by the project period. Okay, I hope that answers.
Great. Deng, I hope that answers your question. And the next question is somebody is asking how best to answer, tell me about yourself. I think that was handled earlier on. I think this might be somebody who missed. Maybe you can just maybe do a recap for him for the question, how best to answer, tell me about yourself.
Okay. uh, so yeah, here, a question like, tell me about yourself. I mentioned earlier that you must demonstrate your professional background only, not a personal life. So summarize your education, your experience, and what you are looking for. Summarize them all into a paragraph. Keep it brief, structured, and relevant to the role. Don't mention things that are irrelevant to the role. So, for tell me about yourself, you can do your professional background, only no talking about personal life. So, summarize your education and experience. I've given you here one example for a HR person. I'm a HR professional with 3 years of experience in, you mentioned the specific functions or field you have experience in, and then I've worked with, mention where you've worked. If you've worked with NGOs, you've mentioned private sector, government, you mentioned, and I'm passionate about helping organizations. This is what you're looking for. You're seeking growth in something, something. So you must be able to demonstrate your education and experience and your motivation or what you're looking for in one paragraph in your about section. If they ask you that question, you should be able to do that because this is like the summary that you've put in your CV. You get. So answer any about, tell me about yourself question using the summary that you've provided in your CV. That way you do not miss out anything. I hope that's clear enough.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Dada Eluzai. And yeah, the next question is for me. He was asking about the presentations. Yes, the presentations will be shared, but they will not be shared as PDF. They are shared in SlideShare, and then you have to go download from SlideShare. We don't share direct PDFs because it's difficult for us to track how many people actually view or download those slides. So the SlideShare works as an M&E tool for us so that we know at the end how many people actually downloaded the slides or how many people viewed the slides. So unfortunately, we cannot share as PDFs via email attachment or via WhatsApp. So we share the link. It's now your work to go and download from SlideShare. Thank you so much. That answers Gadet Kai. Yeah, that's the only way we can help. And then yes, the same. Yes, the same with, yeah, I think. And maybe the last question that is yours is someone is asking, is it allowed to pass or request for another question in the state in an interview in situations where you don't understand it well? I think you said that earlier, but maybe you can just do a recap for Likambo.
Okay. So it's allowed for you to ask for clarification or even take a pass if you've done it professionally and confidently. Yeah. You are not failing. In fact, knowing how to handle a question that you don't fully understand shows some level of maturity and emotional intelligence as well as professionalism are not a weakness. So do not panic. What you can do is to ask for clarification, which is your best option. You can take a brief pause to think about the question. Yeah. And also, if you still are stuck, then you can request to come back to the question at a later time. But please take note of it yourself because they may close the interview and might have already noted there that you did not answer that question. So you don't want to leave that blank. So keep in mind that you did not answer this question. So later on, you can come back to that question. So if you're asked a vague or strange question, uh, then you can simply say something like, I'm not entirely sure how to interpret that, but if I may, I'd like to share how I approach challenges in general. You get. So for vague questions that you're not clear about, you can do that. Then for don't say I don't know flatly. Like if they ask you a question, you be like, okay, I don't know. Go to the next question. Don't do that. Or if they ask you a question, be like, you start panicking and rambling and everything is coming out and doesn't make any sense. Don't do that. Or if they ask a question and you stay silent or take too long without responding, is also not good. And also, don't pretend to understand. They will notice that you are pretending. If you don't understand, just tell them, yes, I get it. We can come back to it later, or ask for clarification, or yeah, something like that. I hope that answers.
Thank you. One question just came in. Dada Eluza is asking you, at what kind of questions are candidates allowed to use the STAR method?
Okay, the STAR method are used for behavioral or competency-based questions. Yeah, these are the type of questions that tests your past experience, real life experiences. They usually start with the sentences like, "Tell me about a time when," or "Describe a situation where you," or "Give me an example of how you," or "Have you ever had to," simply telling you to describe something. You get, those are behavioral questions. For example, somebody can ask you like, "Tell me about a time you worked under pressure." You get. So if somebody asks you a question like, "Tell me about a time you worked under pressure," then you can use the STAR method. You use the STAR method. And then we say the STAR method, you describe first the situation, you provide a background, yeah, of the situation, and then the task, what you did actually, the actions, and then the results. So yes, use that. Also, you can use that for problem solving questions. Yeah, problem solving questions. How did you handle failure in your past role? That is like a problem solving question. So you can use also the STAR method for that. You can also use a STAR method for leadership or teamwork questions, where somebody could be asking you, "Have you ever led a team?" You can use the STAR method for that. And also for customer service or public facing scenarios. For instance, "Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult client." You get. So that is for a STAR question. For technical, factual, or direct questions, do not use STAR method. For example, somebody will be asking you, "Oh, what is your typing speed?" You get. You cannot use STAR method to answer that kind of question. Or what are your top three skills? These are straightforward, just questions where you simply just have to mention the answers. Yes, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yeah, he has given a clap. That means his question is answered. Yeah, so we've come to the end of the questions in the chat box. Maybe we can give Viola to take maybe 2 or 5 minutes rest. She has talked a lot. Let's give an opportunity to anyone who would like to share one or two things by unmuting in audio, not again in written. As she takes maybe a break to take water and then take us through the recap as shown on just final thoughts, the key takeaways she was showing us. Um, yes, anyone who wants to talk, who wants to share one or two things, or maybe give feedback in terms of how the presentation has been. Just anyone who would like to talk. Yeah, anyone who would like to say something.
Yes, Bida,
Yes, you are welcome, Dada.
this is Dada Hilary.
You are welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you for this continuous support to those upcoming graduates. In fact, I have one concern. I presume most of these presenters, they are contracted consultant. So there was a time, was it over last year? There's one consultant from Kenya. So he gave us his contact for WhatsApp and the email in case if someone needed help, maybe we can interact. But when I tried to interact, he was also not all that helping. Could you have an engagement like for those candidates or those guys who have joined his trainings, if they seek for support from them, they could maybe be able to avail their time and give them some guidance on something that maybe they have not understand in their meetings. That's one concern that I found with those other guys from Kenya by then. But I will feel like I should also share with you so that in case maybe if you have contracted farms, it will help them like to guide if anyone comes around to seeking for their support, they could be able to maybe lend their kind help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I will speak with Viola, and then from there, yeah, and then I will let you know via the group, and then yeah, based on the feedback, yeah, it's either you will contact, yeah. So I will speak with her if she's available, and then she should be able to like give guidance in terms of the areas you may need help in. Yeah, I will inform via the group, or if I don't inform you, you do a follow up with me. Let me say by Wednesday. Do a follow up with me by Wednesday or Thursday, like that, and then yeah, and then I should be able to give you feedback at that time. Otherwise, thank you so much for that concern. Another person who would like to say one or two things?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Um, I would like to thank you so much for this session, you and the whole team. This has been really, really insightful and helpful. At least now, I feel I'm now unstuck. Yeah, you can imagine my frustration as a fresh graduate, right, with no idea, no knowledge whatsoever, how to go about the job market. And we all know it is harsh. Yeah. So, so this has been really, really helpful in that now I know how exactly I need to tailor my CV and my cover letters and how I need to prepare for my interviews. Yeah, when I get called for one. And recently when you get to apply for jobs and you do not hear any feedback at all, you wonder and think, oh, what's going on? And that kind of messes with someone's head. But now, I can say the problem must have been my CV and my cover letters. And moving forward, I just know how to navigate that. So once again, thank you. This is actually my very first time with this is my very first master class. And well, if I had known about it sooner, who knows, maybe I would have landed a job by now. However, I'm still confident one is on the way. Thank you.
You're welcome, Emanuela, and congratulations in advance for that job that is coming on your way. Yeah, and I think my advice again would be, yeah, just proper job analysis when you come across the ad. Um, yeah, and I think Viola, that is one thing you should talk about. Also, like in terms of job analysis, like how much time they should actually spend in in analyzing the job and then putting together their documents and so forth. You will be surprised that an advert, especially this, at least applications which are a bit restricted in terms of filling forms or job portals. But you find in some job adverts where people are asked to apply via emails, you see that maybe the job advert is just put now. In the next 5 minutes, there are already applications that are coming in. So, so sometimes it's a bit funny to me, and also that is something you might want to comment on later when you're giving your final feedback. Otherwise, Emanuela, thank you for the positive feedback, and we really wish you the very best. I hope that you've joined the group. In the group, we continue to interact, and in case you get stuck at any point, you can always ask follow-up questions through the group because the facilitator is there. Other professionals are there. They can be able to even lend a helping hand. Even in cases where you need to do a mock interview, some of them might be available and they can do mock interview or even take a look at your CV once you are done and then give you feedback in case of anything that you need to adjust. Thank you. Yes, any other person who would like to say
Thank
one or two
you.
things? Yes, please.
Yes, Emmanuel again. So yeah, I it's been a pleasure being here. However, I also wanted to ask, I had that there's a WhatsApp group and I'm not really there. So I guess I'm just trying to know how exactly I can join the group.
Yeah. So when you filled the form for this masterclass, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So at the end of the form, when you submit, there's a link that usually shows. Uh, but it's fine. Let me just put the WhatsApp group link in the chat box, and then you just click and join. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
No worries. No worries. Yeah. So in that WhatsApp group, that is where you get to ask follow-up questions. Yeah. Sometimes also a few opportunities are shared there. Thank you. Yes. Another person who would like to say one or two things before I give it to our facilitator to wrap up. We have about 2 minutes left, and then we give her the 10 minutes. Yes, Emmanuel, have you seen the link in the chat?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I've seen like two people clicked. So let me figure out which one. Your number ends in what? The last two digits of your number, so that I'm sure I'm approving
82.
the right one.
82.
What?
Just a minute.
Oh,
82.
okay. Yours has not yet come. I think these are different numbers. Now, yes. So the other person was Likambo. You are the other person. I thought Likambo you already in the group. Likambo, you're not okay. So this group is full. This group is full. Let me just share the other one, the other link for the second group. Yeah.
Leader,
So
is it a new group or the group I'm also a member?
yes, it's the old group. The old group. It's not a new group. We don't have a new
Okay.
group.
All
Yeah,
right.
we
All
just.
right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Gadet Kai, your hand is up. You want to say something? Okay, if there are no other comments, Viola, thank you so much. We are handing it over to you to take us through the key takeaways and then also your closing remarks, and then I can close. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you to all the participants, also for those ones who've been able to also share their thoughts on the session. Uh, Before I do the takeaways, I would want to just mention something about how to analyze job adverts and then also to apply. So the time you take to analyze the advert, it's really dependent on the complexity of the job that you're applying for, or whether you need to tailor your CV or your cover letter, or if it's an ATS-based application or an email submission, or whether you've applied for similar roles before. So all of these factors contribute to how long it takes you to to submit your application. Yeah. But in summary, you must be able to analyze the job description, highlight key skills, key duties, uh, values that are there, identify keywords that are in the job adverts, and ensure that these are the keywords that you're going to use to optimize or customize your CV and also your application letter. And then understand what problem the company is trying to solve through the role, because every role is a gap. So identify the problem that they're trying to solve through the role. And then tailor your CV, match your experience uh, to their needs. And then adjust your summary and keywords accordingly. Make sure that they are talking about the current job that you are applying for. While writing your cover letter, personalize your introduction. Address the job specifically. Yeah. And you must end with a very confident call to action. Yeah. Then double check uh, format, spelling, completeness. Yeah. Don't be in rush. Ensure that there's some level of accuracy and clarity in your documentation. In terms of when to apply, there are instances where somebody will be like, oh, I want to send on the deadline, because if I send on the deadline, they will look at my application. Who told you that? Whenever your documents are ready, submit. There are people who close even the application before the deadline. So if you're waiting for deadline, you will miss the chance. Just whenever you see an advert, analyze it, get your documentations in order, and submit your application. Don't wait for too long, because the moment you keep waiting, and then you may end up missing the deadline, or internet will go off, or power will go off, whatever, something can happen. You can, so just don't wait too long, just submit your application. And then another thing I've seen over time in recruiting is that, especially for people who submit their application late, for instance, somebody would send one email, and the email doesn't have a subject, the email doesn't have any body, then they will attach their two document and submit. What are you trying to do? Put a body on the email, put a subject, indicate the position for which you are applying. Sometimes people run adverts for so many roles. So the moment you don't put a subject, you are already showing that you even don't know how to use email properly. So put a clear subject and write a very clear body of an email. Don't leave it blank. Somebody would even tell you FYA, like for your information, and then submit. You are trying to show the recruiter that you don't have communication etiquette. Okay. So provide a simple body where you're able to express your interest again, because the intention is for you to re-emphasize your interest and why you're a fit. So provide a small body for the email before submitting your email. In terms of the format for your document, you either use a Word document or a PDF. Don't use images. Some people would convert their documents into JPEGs, like pics, and then attach over 50 photos on the email. Nobody has the time to look at that. Yeah, nobody has the time to download and look at images, images, images. If it's possible and you have what it takes, combine your document into one. Yeah, put a cover letter on top, your CV down there, and then you can even add your academic documents and ID all together in one document. That way, the person will be forced to open it. Yeah, but if you put, you can have like over 10 attachments, over 50 attachments. Nobody will have that time. Yeah, don't send your documents in a link. Some organizations have strict restriction in terms of clicking links. If you send it as a link, it will go to spam, or even if it doesn't, they will not click it. Yeah, they will not click it. So don't send applications in link unless they tell you now to send your portfolio, and you're somebody who works on maybe projects or programs, and the portfolio is too large to be attached. Yeah, as a document, then you can write and then provide a link. That way they are sure that, and then also guarantee that there is no virus in your document, because some people, viruses can easily crash whatever information they have, so they don't click on links. So please ensure that you don't share your document as a link, and don't attach everything, just only relevant things. Yeah, even trainings, you've already indicated trainings in your CV. Don't include all the training certificates in the application. You've already put it there. If they want to verify it, they will later ask you to provide the certificate if necessary. Okay, so don't add all of them there. So I think that's basically on the thoughts. And for the key takeaways, hopefully, I hope this key takeaway is not mine. It is for anybody who has taken the opportunity to participate. Please, interview is an opportunity for you to show your value. It is an opportunity for you to present yourself. It is not just a question and answer session. So go to an interview where you are very confident and you are discussing with somebody that you are the perfect fit for them. Use STAR method whenever you're faced with any structured or impactful interview questions. prepare and practice in advance, be confident, be very clear, audible, and the like, and ensure that you have some level of professionalism in your presentation in terms of how you talk, how you dress, how you showed up in the interview, keeping time, and all that matters a lot. Your mindset matters. Go in with purpose and positivity. Don't go in feeling like, oh, it's just one of those things. I just do it because, like, okay, they've invited me, you get. You're already telling your mind that, after all, you get. But go with purpose, go with positivity. That way, the end results will be very great. Uh, um, my thank you message is here. I want to thank you to the Excellence Foundation team for the opportunity to facilitate this. And then for all the participants, I hope that you are better equipped to write a very strong application letters and are in a position to ace your interview. I have provided a number of resources that you can use. Mini groceries here detailing what some key terms that you can use. A job search tracker that you can use to track your applications. You can use this template. And then a CV self-assessment checklist. You can use this sorry, checklist to assess your CV, whether it is really good for any application. And then a worksheet on how you can write a very strong personal statement. You can use this worksheet. And then also you can use this to tailor your CV. Is a worksheet 3. And worksheet 4 is a cover letter structure, how you can structure your cover letter properly. And then also a space for you to now draft your cover letter. And then the STAR method planning sheet for any of the questions. You can add more questions. And then interview readiness checklist, where you can be able to check out if you're preparing for interview. You can check off things. If you've gone through the job description, yes, you can check. Have I read the organization's mission vision? Yes, I've done that. So you can use this checklist to check your readiness for any interview invite. And then a reflection page. You can use this uh, as part of the learning session. One key thing I've learned about CVs that I didn't know before and the likes, that can be a page for your reflection. And then lastly, the tools and resources. Yesterday, somebody asked about free ATS tools that they can use to check their CVs and application letters. Say, I've added them here. You can use any of these. Then I think I will also finally add the ones for today, where you can check resources for practicing interviews, and also some free resources where you can find some interview questions with answers that you can use for your interview. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Over to you, Bida. I appreciate everybody.
Amazing. This is beautiful, and I think with all this, with this presentation at hand, with being part of this masterclass, I think if anyone has been following very closely, I believe that you should really just download this presentation, look through the content carefully. If you get lost at any point, you can go and revisit the recording, and you can also ask follow-up questions via the group. We want to sincerely thank you so much, Brenda, for being elaborate, for being able to put up this excellent presentation, for being able to address all the questions that were asked by the participants satisfactorily. We want to encourage you to keep up the excellent work, and also to keep supporting, especially fresh graduates who are coming up and finding it a bit new in the job market. And for everyone who has attended, we want to thank you so much for your time and for being part of this masterclass. These masterclasses happen every 2 weeks, and we explore a range of topics. This is just one of them. In the next 2 weeks, we will have I will have we missed some master classes, so we may have some consecutive master classes on, of course, on different topics. And we always share the call for registration via our different communication channels, including email list, social media, and also via WhatsApp. We wish you the very best of your afternoon. Take very good care of yourselves, and again, a fruitful new week as Monday starts tomorrow. For all the South Sudanese, we wish you a happy day of independence on the 9th of July, in the new week as well. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, so unfortunately, this is the end of our session.
Some people wanted to see my face, so I just put on my video for a bit before I go off.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. See you.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
There are still people raising their hands.